What up, everybody? Welcome to the first official live NBA playoff prediction of the off season, man. Very excited to bring this video to you guys, man. This is my favorite time of the year. Playoffs are basically here. We're not officially here yet because we got to do the play-in tournament first, but we're going to do predictions to all of that. Got the bracket on hand, man. I got the breakdowns for you guys. Matchup by matchup, we're going to talk about every single team in the West and in the East. And just going to break down, tell you guys my thoughts, who I think is coming out of each side of the bracket and who's going to be victorious at the end of the season. So full predictions coming out right now. You guys know how it is, man. So hopefully you guys are doing well. I'm excited. I think the official playing games start tomorrow officially. And then ours, the Lakers playing games start on Wednesday versus the Golden State Warriors at 7 p.m. Pacific time. So make sure you guys are here for pregame at 6 and all that good stuff. What's up, Jesse? What's up, everybody? So here we go. Let's get right into this bracket. So I got the playoff bracket right here. Let me go ahead and screen share that with you guys. Make sure you guys can see what I see because I want you guys to be on the same page as your boy here. There it is. Okay. So we got the playoff bracket right here, man. And let's start off at, should we go East or West? I'll let you guys vote. You guys want me to do East or West first? I want to break down every single matchup, the potential outcomes, and how many games I believe each team is going to win and all that good stuff. What's up, big baby? Doing good, Jason. Thanks for asking, brother. Doing good. We're blessed, man. Thank you so much. All right, let's go. Let's go to the East side first. All right, East side of the bracket. Let's break it down. Should be fun. All right, let's start with the Indiana Pacers versus the Charlotte Hornets. So, okay. That's going to be a tough matchup. Whoever wins that will go on to play the loser of 7 and 8 between Boston and Washington. So Indiana versus Charlotte is going to be intriguing. Okay, we have the Indiana Pacers that are more of a defensive-oriented team, and you have the Charlotte Hornets who are more of an offensive-oriented team. However, the Indiana Pacers do have a shot at they have really good offense due to the fact they acquired people like Karis LeVert. They have Sabonis, first-time All-Star. So they have some pretty good offensive pieces themselves. The only thing is they haven't been healthy all season long. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome, welcome. Good morning, or good afternoon, should I say? Yes, good afternoon. He said, Jennifer said, aloha, Dan from the 808 state. Aloha. Love it. I love it. Okay, so my prediction for the first matchup, we got the Pacers versus the Charlotte Hornets. I believe. Now, this is going to be a coin flip, but I believe the Indiana Pacers will come out on top. Why? Because let's be real. As much as I love LaMelo Ball and I like Teddy Rozier, they're very young and inexperienced. They don't have a lot of playoff experience. The Indiana Pacers on the other end as well, but they do have more veterans, and I feel like their defensive style will prevail in that matchup. So I do predict that the Charlotte Hornets will go packing, and Indiana will move on to face the winner of Boston versus Washington. Now, Boston versus Washington, both of those teams, they're ducking us. That's right, Alfonso. They are ducking us, man, in the West Coast. But both of these teams right here between Boston and Washington, that's going to be a very intriguing matchup. I would have had Boston coming out if Jaylen Brown was healthy, but unfortunately, he went out with a season-ending injury. And so for those reasons, I'm going to have Washington moving on to face the Brooklyn Nets right here in the 7th versus the 2nd seed. So that's going to be our first round matchup there. And I do have Boston losing, but getting a second chance and moving up to play the Pacers. Now, last I checked, Jason Tatum's a beast. So my prediction between the Pacers versus Boston game is going to be, I wish it was Melo, but I'm not sure if he has enough experience. He is a killer, though. So I still had Indiana coming out. I think it'll be Boston, Indiana, and I think Boston will move on to play Philly in the first round because they do have Tatum still. They still have a pretty good lineup with Kemba, and they're pretty deep, okay? I'll say this. Even though they lost Jaylen Brown, they've been struggling all season long. They do have a pretty deep roster. I think it's a little bit deeper than Indiana's. And I do think they will squeeze into the playoffs and face the Philadelphia 76ers. He said, you got the lucky jersey or just the jacket? I just got the lucky Laker jacket, man. It's been working for me. I realized it was lucky a while back, and I've been wearing it. So best believe it's making his debut on Wednesday. Lucky Lakers jacket in full effect coming out, man. I really have us winning that playing game. But now that I predict So Boston right here to face the Philadelphia 76ers in the first round to make it out of the play-in. And I predict Washington versus Brooklyn in the first round, which should be good because we will get Russ versus KD. And then we'll get into the East a little bit later in the show. But let's go move over to the Western side of the play-in tournament. And this is where it gets really interesting, guys, because you have the Memphis Grizzlies who have all these young bucks, hungry players who actually gave the Warriors a run for their money in the final game of the season, but they came up short due to Steph Curry's hot shooting, going up against the San Antonio Spurs, who we know are always well coached. And they also have some decent depth there with DeMar DeRozan and a couple other veteran players who can knock down big shots. But for some reason, I feel like normally coaching prevails, but this time I think talent will prevail. And I have Memphis Grizzlies moving on to face the loser of this game. And of course, Lakers versus Warriors. You know who I'm picking, man. I'm going with the Lakers. I don't want to talk too much about this matchup till pregame on Wednesday, but I will say this. LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Andre Drummond, all that size is going to destroy the small ball style of the Golden State Warriors. If we just pound them inside, pound them in the glass, and just tire them out so that offensively they don't have a lot of energy. So I think the Lakers will advance to face the Phoenix Suns. And I think the Warriors will advance when they face the Memphis Grizzlies again, and then eventually will be the number 8 seed. Why? Because we already saw Steph Curry can get hot, and they really have nobody to check him. Dillon Brooks did a decent job on Steph, but it still wasn't enough. He dropped, 46 points in the season finale. So I do expect his I do think that his experience is going to factor into that, and I do have the Warriors advancing to the playoffs to face the Utah Jazz in the first round. Now, this is where it gets interesting, okay? I have my picks. On the East, I picked the Boston Celtics to face Philadelphia, 8-1, and I picked Washington to face Brooklyn. And in the West, I picked the Warriors to come out of the play-in to face Utah after we beat them in the first game, and then the Lakers to come out to face the Suns. So that's the way I have my bracket set up, and this is where it gets really good because now we're talking about these teams that were ducking the Lakers and all that. They actually did the Lakers a favor because by us being here in this play-in game at the 7th seed, we take the easier route. Ain't nobody scared of the Phoenix Suns. They overachieved this season, but it would have been harder for us to play the Utah Jazz. So this is where the Clippers shot themselves in the foot, in my opinion. I think they should have ended up 3 and had a better chance of getting out, or just at least to face us in the second round before we get really hot in the third round. So bottom line is, this is how it's going to go, okay? I got Utah versus Golden State, which should be a great series, but I have defense winning. So I think Utah takes that series in about 5 games. Why? Let me tell you why. Utah Jazz are very deep, okay? This year they have Jordan Clarkson coming off the bench. Doing good, Magic. Thank you, bro. Thank you. I appreciate you. We have, the Utah Jazz are playing exceptional ball. They won the West, obviously, so congratulations to them. They proved to be better than I thought they would. They have shooters. They have the Joe Ingleses of the world. They have great defenders like Rudy Gobert, offensive beast, and Donovan Mitchell if he comes back healthy, or he is back healthy, I think so. And then they have Mike Conley, who's a floor general, and a lot of very good role players that I think will allow them to beat the Warriors in about 5 or 6 games. So I have Utah coming out on the top side of the bracket in about 5 or 6. What do you guys think? Do you guys agree with me? Utah in 5 or 6, or how y'all feeling? Do you guys think Steph Curry, being a champion, having the experience he has, is going to be able to compete and take them to 7 and maybe even eventually beat them? I don't know. I still have Utah because, remember, to me, defensive teams are better. Not to say that Golden State's not capable of playing defense. They have a couple of solid defenders, and obviously Draymond Green and a decent wing defender. And Wiggins, he's not elite by any means, but I got Jazz in 5 or 6. But that's just me. You guys agree? Okay, yes. Check. Agree. He said if they had Clay, would have gone 7. If they had Clay, I think the Warriors would have won in 6 or 7. I agree. But it's a different ball game. I don't think Jordan Poole's regular season hotness is going to translate over to the play-in or to the playoffs, but we still got to keep them in check when we play them. He said Warriors beating Utah. Okay. He went out on a limb. Okay, Edwin. We'll see. I still got Jazz in 5 or 6, but that's just me. Okay, moving on to the next series. And again, now we got this is going to be a great one. I can't wait to see this one. I don't know how y'all feel about the Clippers versus the Dallas Mavericks, but we get a rematch of last year's first round series where Dallas took them to 6 with an injured Kristaps. But I will say this, okay? I'll give credit to the Clippers front office in this sense. They got better with Rondo and with Serge Ibaka. Of course, Serge has been very injured, but I think he will come back for the playoffs, and I think he will be ready. Where I don't give him credit is they're scared. And any team that's scared, if I was the Dallas Mavericks, I would smell the weakness. It's like they're afraid of the Lakers. All right, we got a shot. And I would love, there's nothing I would love more than for Luka Doncic to put up a show and eliminate the Clippers in 7. That would be my prediction. That would definitely be my prediction, except I can never count on Kristaps Porzingis to stay healthy. Okay? So realistically speaking, my gut wants me to go with the Dallas Mavericks in 7, but the reality, the truth of the matter is I got the Clippers coming out of that one just because they added Rondo and Serge. So I give them a little bit more respect, not quite too much though, but barely eking out by the Mavericks in 7. Barely. Unless, and here I don't want to have a double prediction here, but if Kristaps is healthy and he's able to make his impact, then I will have Dallas Mavericks in 7. Okay. But if Kristaps goes down any games or anything like that, then I think it'll impact the series like it did last time, and I have the Clippers coming out in 6 or 7. So it's all going to depend on Kristaps Porzingis' health. We know what Luka is going to bring to the table. I really do like the Dallas Mavericks' roster to compete. I mean, they got the Tim Hardaway Juniors of the world. They traded for Josh Richardson, who I think is a very solid 3-and-D wing. And they have, floor spacers like Maxi Kleber and I forgot the other one's name, but they have a couple of stretch fours, which bodes well for floor spacing, especially if you're playing around your boy, Luka Doncic, right? So they went ahead and they kind of built their team to try to beat the Clippers. Unfortunately, the Clippers did upgrade, and they got Rondo, who I think is going to be an X factor, at least in the first round, and they got Serge Ibaka, who also I respect when healthy. But if the Mavericks are healthy, and this is a big if, and Luka has a repetition when he balled out, he was balling out of his mind in last year's playoffs, I do believe that the Mavericks have an outside shot to beat the Clippers in 7. Okay. But just for the sake of being right, when you guys look back at this, you're going to say, okay, Dan was right. I got the Clippers coming out in 6 or 7, just based off of the track record of, like I said, Kristaps being injured. I have a feeling something's going to happen where he's going to miss a game or two, and that'll really pretty much, remove that will basically tip the scale in the Clippers' favor. So I have, unfortunately, I hate to say Clippers anytime. I would love to say Mavericks, but I'll have Clippers in 7 due to injuries. That's just my prediction. Hope it doesn't happen, though. Hope is the other one. And then we got Denver versus Portland. Now, this is going to be an interesting series. Everybody knows that Denver tanked, and it was disappointing because I actually like Denver. I like their roster. I like their fan base. So I like Denver, but I didn't like the fact that they tanked, and I have a feeling it's going to come back to bite them. But I just don't think it'll bite them in that playoff series unless Damian Lillard goes off. CJ and Norman Powell, the newest acquisition, and Carmelo can all go off at the same time. I have Denver coming out in 7. Okay, but it should be a very fun series. It should be a blast. The way Jokic has been playing, they just don't have nobody to check him in the paint. Nurkic is a decent defender, but outside of that, they don't have any rim protection, really. And for those reasons, I think Jokic is going to eat. I think Aaron Gordon's addition is going to keep the Blazers on their toes, unless, like I said, those 4 players can get off for the Blazers. I have Denver in 7. I really do. And now we got our matchup that I'm looking forward to, man. I think it'll happen. Of course, we have to take care of business versus the Warriors. If not, it throws everything off. But we got Lakers versus Phoenix Suns, man. Lakers versus Phoenix Suns, first round. Okay. And this is where it gets interesting. Chris Paul is a dog. We know he's feisty. We know he gets calls. We know what but Devin Booker, I just don't trust. Never been in the playoffs. I think the Lakers are going to clamp him up. Chris Paul can't win you the whole series. They do have DeAndre Ayton, but he's not as impressive as I think people give him credit for. To me, he's not a bust, but he's also not the star that they thought they drafted with that number 1 overall pick. They should have went with Luka. So that was a big mistake by them. Imagine they would have had Luka and Devin Booker in the backcourt. That would have been nuts. But they went where they went, and they still have a decent team. They ended up number 2 in the West. They overachieved, but a lot of that happened due to injuries to the Lakers. So I think the Lakers get that series in 5 at worst. I really don't think they would drop more than 1 game. I really don't. Even though we're the lower seed, I think Lakers in 5, and we would advance to play who I predicted would be the Denver Nuggets. And without Jamal Murray, I don't think they have a shot in the world to beat us. It might be Lakers in 5 as well. Just like last year, I have a feeling it's going to repeat. But let's just say, for the sake of respect, we'll say 5 or 6, okay, versus a Denver series. And then we'd be in the Western Conference waiting for the winner of Utah versus the Clippers in the second round. And everybody knows the curse, man. The Clippers can't get past the second round. I don't expect it to happen this year. I wish it would, so that we can finally smack them in the playoffs, but they're not. I'm not going to be cheering for them either. I hope they get eliminated. The sooner the better. The quicker we can make fun of those ignorant, disrespectful fans. And I'm going to be rooting for the Mormon country, man, for the Utah Jazz. And so I think the Jazz will beat the Clippers in about 6 games, because defense wins championships, even though I'm not calling them champs. I do think they're a much better defensive team. I do think Donovan Mitchell's a dog. He's going to go toe-to-toe with the likes of Paul George, and I think he's going to beat him in that matchup. Kawhi Leonard will have an offensive advantage, but everywhere else, the Jazz win. Outside of Kawhi Leonard, the Jazz are going to win every single other matchup. On the floor. They got Joe Ingles, who's a dog. They got Rudy Gobert, who's a defensive beast. They have Jordan Clarkson coming off the bench. Mike Conley, the floor general. I think he'll be the better guard out of him and Rondo in that series. And I do have the Utah Jazz advancing in 6 to face the Lakers in the Western Conference Finals. Now, again, I could be wrong. Some of these might be off. But for the most part, when I predict stuff like the Western Conference Finals, most of the time it comes out to be true. Last year I said it's going to be Denver Nuggets Lakers in the Western Conference Finals, and that's exactly what we got. So this year I got the Jazz Lakers for the Western Conference Finals, and I think that's going to be a great series. They gave us all we could handle when we played them. Of course, we didn't have LeBron James, but I think that's going to be a 6-game series. I really respect the Jazz defensively. They impressed me when we played them, and I think they'll take us to 6 games, but I think the Lakers will prevail. I think our size, athleticism, LeBron, Anthony Davis, star power, and the bench depth, I really think Trez and Marc Gasol can make they can become factors in that series. But we're gonna need the coaching staff to really utilize all of our pieces properly in that series, especially. So I got the Lakers in 6 coming out of the West, beating the Utah Jazz. Now those are my Western Conference predictions. Let me know in the comment section what you guys thought about my Western Conference predictions, and then right after I read some comments, I will head over to the Eastern Conference predictions, because I think that's when it gets really, really good, and I think you guys will be shocked to see who I'm picking. I still don't know who I'm picking, but because I haven't looked at the bracket or nothing like that. So these predictions are just out of the blue. It's not something I thought about, We just coming up with them on the spot and how I'm looking at the matchups as we are right now. He said, we good. He said, can the Lakers beat the Warriors? Absolutely. I think the Lakers will beat the Warriors, and I think we're going to dominate them. I really do. I don't think it's going to be that close as people think. So it'll be interesting. He said, very good predictions. Thank you, bro. I appreciate you. I'm sure not everybody agrees, but that's okay. Let's agree to disagree if you guys don't agree. For those of you that do agree, great minds think alike. He said, I'm not sure if THC will get playing time in the playoffs. Oh, no, he's definitely going to get playing time. I'm sure that he has earned some trust over from Frank Vogel. He showed it all season long in clutch, crucial games. And so maybe he won't get as much as people anticipate, but he will get some. That's for sure. Hey, it's my pleasure, man. It's my pleasure, V. You don't have to thank me, bro. He said, Lakers versus Nets finals, Dan? Not quite so. I actually have some crazy predictions I'm going to throw your way right now. He said, I have the Lakers face the Clippers in the West Finals, Lakers in 7. I can't see them getting past the Utah Jazz, James. Matter of fact, they might struggle versus the Dallas Mavericks. Like I said, that depends a lot on Kristaps Porzingis' health and how the role players step up. I really like what Jalen Brunson has done for the Mavs. So if he has a out-of-his-mind playoff series, then the Mavs have a good shot. They have an outside shot, but they have a shot to surprise, and I wouldn't be shocked, to be honest with you, because the Clippers always drop the ball anyways. So bottom line, I got Jazz, Lakers, and Lakers coming out in a 6-game series. Now, let's go to the East Coast, because that's where it gets really, really good, man. Who are the Lakers facing in the finals according to my predictions? Okay, so if you guys remember earlier, I had Boston facing Brooklyn in the play-in, and no. How did I have it? No, I'm sorry, Boston facing Philly, and I had Washington facing the Brooklyn Nets. So let's start from the top to the bottom. Okay, Philly versus Boston, that's easy. I think Philly is going to win in 4 or 5. They might even sweep, to be honest with you, because Boston's not healthy. And Jason Tatum can't do it all by himself. Without Jaylen Brown there, I think they're really going to struggle, man. They're going to struggle. So I think Philly is destined to go pretty far in the playoffs. I'm not sure how far yet. Let's not look that far down the bracket, but I do think they will either sweep the Boston Celtics or beat them in 5 at best. I'd be shocked if they go 6 or past that. But I would love to see a competitive series, even though I hate Boston. I do respect a young talent like Tatum. So it'll be interesting. And then, so I got Philly coming out in 5, worst case scenario. Then I got the Knicks versus the Hawks, man. That's going to be probably my favorite. Besides the Lakers playoff series, I think whatever the Knicks are in, I'm going to be super hyped about. So Knicks versus Hawks, man, that's going to be a fun series. Let me tell you why. The two styles contrast each other completely, okay? The Atlanta Hawks are kind of a running gun team in a way. They like to run up and down, shoot threes, play the pick and roll between John Collins and Trae Young, and then Trae got infinite range. And they got some pretty good role players as well. They got Gallinari, even though he hasn't been healthy this season, and they got some good role players. However, we cannot overlook what the Knicks have done. And the Knicks have become one of the best defensive teams in the league. Okay, and they took us to overtime, man. So I think the Knicks have what it takes to make somewhat of a run in the playoffs this year. And I got the Knicks beating the Atlanta Hawks in, I'll say, in about 5 or 6. 6 worst case scenario, 5 best case scenario. At 6, if Trae Young goes ham and they don't have an answer for him, then he might get them to 6. He might get the Hawks a couple of wins. But I do expect the New York Knicks to kind of dominate the series in a way, especially on the glass. They have a beast like Julius Randle. They got Nerlens Noel, who's been one of the better rim protectors in the league this season, and a major reason why they're so intimidating in the paint. I wouldn't mind signing him if he was a free agent. Like, that's how good he is. But they got the shooting in Reggie Bullock. They have the veteran leadership, and Derrick Rose and RJ Barrett has stepped up his game to a new level. So, of course, Randall is the motor and the engine of that team. I got the Lakers in 5. I'm sorry, the Knicks in 5 at best. At worst, Knicks in 6. Moving on, we got the Bucks versus the Heat. This might be the closest playoff matchup, and I think whoever wins that series, because both of those teams match up really well to me. Whoever wins that series might have a great shot at getting to the finals. Again, it could be Miami, or this could be Giannis's breakout year. The acquisition of Drew Holiday and PJ Tucker might be it. But I'm very excited for that series as well. The playoffs, I'm just like, oh, this year they're super hyped, man. We got great cross matchups all over the place, and this is one of them, man. This one might go to 7. Miami is tough, man. They got Jimmy Buckets. He ain't afraid of nobody. Bam Adebayo, one of my favorite bigs in the league. Very skilled, very versatile, continues to grow. They got Goran Dragic, underrated point guard floor general. They have shooters like Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, and Kendrick Nunn. They got veterans like Iguodala and Trevor Ariza. And so I'm going to say Miami in 6 or 7. Believe it or not. Why? I respect Jimmy Butler, man. I really do. And they're properly coached. Spoelstra has a lot of championship experience. I got Miami in 6 or 7, believe it or not. And matter of fact, Miami might be my dark horse to get out of the East, but depends, of course, on what happens versus Brooklyn. What do you guys think of that prediction? It's a little hot take. I know a lot of people have Milwaukee coming out of that one, but I don't know, man. I feel like another year they kept most of the same team. I feel like Miami got stronger for some reason, even though they dealt with injuries like a lot of teams did in the West as well. I really do think Miami is a dark horse to get out of the East, depending on how the chips land and health and everything. But I like Miami beating Milwaukee in 6 or 7. But I do think that Milwaukee also has a shot. So for me, this is going to be my hot take. Okay, whoever wins that series is probably going to come out of the East. Remember, I said it here first. You can always come back to this series, right? You can always come back to this video. I do them once a year, playoff predictions. This year, my dark horse team, Miami. But I think if Milwaukee can beat them and prove that they've grown, they're able to execute, and they got better with Drew Holiday and PJ Tucker, and they're able to take advantage of that size they have in the paint, then, like I said, whoever wins that series, I got them coming out the East. Next up, we got Brooklyn versus who I predicted to come out of the play-in tournament and play them, the Washington Wizards. Now, this series would also be popcorn, baby, because you got one of the best scorers in the league, Bradley Beal, and you also got Russell Westbrook, triple-double machine, record-breaking. He hates Kevin Durant. Well, not hates, but he dislikes Kevin Durant because he feels betrayed by him. Imagine putting those in a 7 game to match up against each other. Ooh, That would be, I mean, that would be fireworks. That would be fireworks, guys. And I would love to see it. I would like to see them going at each other's necks. And yes, this is what playoff basketball is all about. You know, leave it all on the floor. Some people are saying that's going to be a 6-game series. Some people are saying that's going to be a 7-game series. I really don't know. All right. If the Brooklyn Nets can gel together and they have all that star power and they could finally there could be a pecking order and somebody could take a back seat, then Brooklyn's going to come out of that in 5 or 6. But, and this has been my prediction about Brooklyn, they don't have a lot of size in the paint. Neither does Washington because Thomas Bryant got injured, their best big, in my opinion. So they're going to match up well there. The guards are going to a little bit offset, but they do have the biggest advantage that Brooklyn has, Kevin Durant. If he's healthy, there's no chance that the Washington Wizards have against Brooklyn. However, if he's not healthy or there's chemistry issues, there's finger pointing because somebody lost the game they shouldn't have lost, somebody's overshooting Kyrie or being weird off the court or whatever the case, it's going to open up the door for that series to maybe go 7. And this is why I love the playoffs. It's so unpredictable. You just never know what could happen. Anything can happen. What if Kyrie decides to go to a party in the middle of the playoff series and he's been doing it all season, so he's a little wacky up there, man, and you just never know what to expect. And then what if Harden doesn't get the calls that he gets in regular season, right? They might be in trouble there. But I still have Brooklyn coming out in 5 or 6 if everything goes smooth for them, meaning they get the pecking order right, health and everything. I say Nets in 5 or 6 at worst case. But best case for the fans will be a 7-game series where Russell Westbrook goes ham and the odds even up a little bit because, like I said, something can go wrong chemistry-wise over there. But I still got Brooklyn coming out of there. Next, my prediction is Miami comes out of the Milwaukee series. So you got Miami versus Brooklyn. And this is why I love basketball, okay? This is why I love the NBA playoffs because weaklings get exposed. Mentally, I feel like Brooklyn is soft. That's why they went out and they got all these overkill superstars. It was enough that they already had KD and Kyrie, but they went out and got James Harden. So offensively, obviously, Brooklyn has the advantage. But again, I'm sticking to my theme, and defense wins championships. And for that reason, I'm picking the Miami Heat to come out in a 7-game series versus the Brooklyn Nets. Why? Jimmy Butler is one of the toughest mental dudes. He makes all of his teammates better. He makes Bam tougher. He makes Dragic. He makes everybody tougher. I feel like for the reasons, the depth I already mentioned from the Miami Heat, I feel like they're a deeper team. They might not have the same talent, but this is the beautiful thing about the playoffs, okay? Talent doesn't always win championships. Go back and ask the 2010 Dallas Mavericks who beat the Miami Heat, who had a talented big three, or the Miami Heatles is what they call themselves. The Dallas Mavericks won, and in a way, this Miami Heat team is kind of constructed like the Mavericks. They have one star in Jimmy Butler, a bunch of really, really good star players around, like not star players, a lot of really, really good role players like Bam Adebayo, who's a borderline star. You have the, like I said, the Dragic's, the Kendrick Nuns, the shooters like Hero and Duncan Robinson. You got the veterans. So that team, yeah, the 2011 Mavs. I'm sorry, 2011 Mavs. That team reminds me a lot of the Mavericks, who kind of flew under the radar and made it to the finals and won a championship with nobody expecting them to. So I have Miami coming out in 7 games versus the Brooklyn Nets, and then the Brooklyn Nets obviously going to finger point and try to make another trade in the offseason. But that's just what I have. That's what I have coming out of there on that side. Now, top side of the bracket, I already had Philly. I already had New York. Philly versus New York is going to be great. All right, it's going to be fireworks. You got dogs over there. You got Joel Embiid, who's a trash talker, but he backs it up. And you got Julius Randle, who's just a dog, all right? And then he tends to let his game do the talking, but then he talks trash after his game does the talking. Those two are probably going to be jawing at it all series long. And then the role players are really going to factor into this. How good is Ben Simmons? How much has he grown? Can he hit a couple mid-range jump shots? Can he stay aggressive attacking the rim? Can the shooters, the role players like the Danny Greens of the world, and all of them, can they really step up? Because if they can, I have them. However, I'm going to go with my gut on this one. I have the Knicks beating the Philadelphia 76ers in 7, okay? But here's what needs to happen for that to happen, okay? Actually, no, let me change my pick right now. I have Philly, and this is why. Because Julius Randle does struggle with size. I forgot about that. I almost forgot about that. He's always struggled with size, even though his game has grown. In a 7-game series, I'm not saying they'll neutralize him, but he's going to have to work extremely hard for his buckets, man. Like, extremely hard. So for those reasons, I will have to go with my gut and pick Philly to beat the Knicks, even though I love the Knicks and I'm cheering for them, man. Second favorite team in the league. I would love for them to pull off the upset and beat the number one seeded Sixers, but I just don't think, like I said, the one thing that bothers me about Julius Randle is that he has always, throughout his career, struggled with size. In a 7-game series, I don't know how that's going to look because I've never seen him in the playoffs. He did amazing in the regular season. You know, the size didn't bother him in the regular season, but the playoffs is different. And you're going up against a lot of size with the Sixers. If Joel stays healthy, I got the Sixers in 6 or 7 versus the Knicks. However, the only way I can change that pick up is obviously if Joel goes down, God forbid an injury. We don't want to see no more injuries. And then I would have the Knicks in 6 or 7 if Joel is not at his healthiest point. Or if they're able to neutralize Joel and then Ben Simmons, if Ben Simmons starts breaking everything, including layups and stuff, because sometimes he's not good under pressure, then I would change my pickup again. But that's going to be a really intriguing series if it happens in the second round. I would love to see it. Sixers and 6 or 7. And then we will have the Eastern Conference Finals, which you got Miami in my pick that I think is going to the Eastern Conference Finals versus the 76ers, okay? Now, all season long, I told you guys, I had the Sixers coming out of the East. But something recently has happened that has changed my mind, okay? And that is Miami looks healthy at the end of the season now, all right? Jimmy Butler, like I said, I got ultimate respect for Jimmy Buckets, man. And even though Philadelphia has the best player in the series, which is Joel Embiid, okay, I still think Miami has more depth, and I just don't trust Danny Green enough. We saw what he did last year. He choked in the playoffs for us. I don't trust him enough to be that floor spacer. They do have Seth Curry, however, unless he goes ham. I got Miami Heat coming out in 7. They're my dark horse to come out of the East. I got to stick with it, guys. Got to stick with my gut. My gut rarely fails me. Like I said, I'm a 90% correct. These ESPN analysts got nothing on me when it comes to, you know what I'm saying, when it comes to this predictions and stuff. So I'm going to say Miami comes out of the East to face the Lakers on a rematch. On a rematch, man. Oh, the Heat have bigs, okay? Bam Adebayo himself can man the paint. So, you know, he's an X factor for them. And I think he's going to give Joel Embiid at least a little bit of a challenge, enough for them to come out. He's a good change, Dan. LOL, Philly coming out the East. Nah, I got Miami, bro. I got to stick with my gut. Thanks, Lewis. Appreciate you, brother. Thanks for the donation, brother. But that's my prediction for this year for Lakers Heat rematch of last year's finals. Looking at the bracket, man, and this is not something I've been premeditating. This is last minute. I really feel like, I mean, I would like it to be Sixers Lakers because I think it's a little bit of a changeup. But I do think it's going to be Lakers Heat. My gut tells me Heat. Looking at this side of the playoff bracket, I don't see nobody who can beat the Heat. And then once they get full steam and they're in full effect, I do think that the Miami Heat will play the Lakers again in the finals. They were the dark horse last year. I have them coming out again. He said, why isn't Jello signed? He's a 90% three-point shooter. Because his game and his immaturity doesn't really translate to the NBA. First of all, it doesn't matter how good of a three-point shooter he is. If he doesn't play a lick of defense, nobody's going to want him. I mean, ask Marcelo Huertas. He was one of the better passers we've seen in a while. And since he couldn't play a lick of defense, he's not in the league anymore, you know? And I hate to say it like that because I liked him. He was a fan favorite. But he was always getting cooked. So, yeah, Jello will probably get cooked, man. He has a slow type of game. He kind of likes to post up a lot. He's too short to be posting up in the NBA. So for that reason, yep. That's what I believe. So Heat Lakers, you guys know who I'm going with, man. We're going to basically see a repetition of last year. Lakers are going to win it in 5 or 6, man. Worst case scenario, 6. Best case scenario, 5. But I do respect the Heat in the East. I think they're very undervalued. I would love it if the Knicks came out of the East. That would be like, that would be amazing. But I just don't think they can get past Joel Embiid. If they get past Joel Embiid and we had a Knicks versus Heat Eastern Conference Finals, then I think those two teams match really well. They're both defensive teams. And, you know, I always go with defense when it comes to getting to the finals or winning championships. So Lakers Sixers, my thoughts, or Lakers Nets? I just don't think the Nets have the defense it takes. Mike D'Antoni's teams historically, and again, make no mistake, even though Steve Nash is the coach, this is a Mike D'Antoni ran team. They're running the same system, run and gun, no defense. And for those reasons, I don't have the Nets coming out of the East. For those reasons alone. Not to mention that I do believe they're soft and mentally, like they run into the Miami Heat, they're going to get broken down. The best case scenario for the Brooklyn Nets would be if Milwaukee can eliminate the Heat, because then I think Brooklyn has the advantage there. If they go Milwaukee versus Brooklyn, I think Brooklyn does have the offensive advantage because Giannis tends to, if you take away the lane from him, he doesn't always do the right play. Sometimes he turns the ball over. Sometimes he settles for jump shots that don't go in. So it's kind of like a way to stop Giannis in a way in the playoffs. So, but regardless, I still got Miami coming out the East versus the Lakers. And I got the Lakers in 5 or 6 champions back-to-back, baby. So I like the way this came out, man. I'm looking forward to it. He said, nah, Heat is a great decision as well. Whoever comes out of the East, it doesn't matter as long as the Lakers take him out. He said Lakers versus Wizards in the final. I mean, that would be an easy dub for the Lakers, man. No offense to Wizards fans, but if the Wizards somehow Cinderella storied their way out of the way to the finals, that would be an amazing storyline. I'm not going to lie. He said, refs will do anything in their power to make the Lakers win. He said Lakers will somehow shoot more free throws. Yeah, that doesn't really I can tell you're not a Laker fan because you don't actually watch the games. But, I mean, your name is perfect because that take was weak. He said, I hope the Knicks play the Lakers in the finals. James, that would be amazing, bro. I'm rooting for your team to get there, man. That would be awesome. I mean, the NBA would really benefit from that, right? 2 of the most loyal fan bases. 2 of the most passionate fan bases would be phenomenal. I feel like the Knicks are still a dominant big man away from getting to the final. Size matters in the NBA, and as much as I love Julius Randle, he needs a running mate who can stretch the floor. For example, if the Knicks had traded for Vucevic, even though he's not really defensive minded, the offense, the ability to stretch the floor, he would have spaced things out a little bit more for Julius. The reason Julius can get stagnant in the paint at times, even though he became a lot better this year, Nerlens Noel is not really an offensive threat. So the team collapses down on Julius. And that's just my hot take. I'm basically judging this playoff bracket, not with my heart, but with my head. And I can see that I can predict Julius getting out of the first round, but I think he'll get stuck with Philly. Philly got too much size. And like I said, there's not going to be enough spacing for the Knicks with Joel Embiid down there. You don't need a double. You don't need to double anybody. Normally Julius is used to double teams, and that's how they move the ball. I've seen the way he plays this season. They move the ball, and they find the shooters. They move the ball extremely well under Thibodeau's system, like the Chicago Bulls of old when they had Rose, Ben Gordon, Kirk Heinrich, Luol Deng, Joe Kim. No, they moved the ball extremely well. But just like that team, they won't have enough floor spacing to make it past the second round, in my opinion. I'd love it. If they get past Philly, anything's possible, okay? That's all I'm going to say. So, to me, your season will come down to Philly. I do think you guys will get past the Hawks in the first round. So, that already in itself is going to be a way overachievement. So, congratulations, Knicks, man. I'm very proud of the organization and the fans for sticking with it. And it was a pleasure watching you guys ball out this year. Lake Show Randolph, my boy, he said, let's make history. First 7 seed to become an NBA championship. And that's also, you know what? I didn't even talk about that. Not just the first 7 seed, but the first play-in tournament seed in the history to get the championship. That would be double the history right there, bro. So, yes, thanks for the donation. Thank you so much, bro. And I agree with you. Let's make history. Let's go out here and punch these analysts in the mouth. Did you guys notice? My brother texted me this morning. He was like, did you notice that they're being hypocrites and they're trying to jump back into the bandwagon? Everybody praising the Lakers now because the Clippers were ducking, bobbing, and weaving. But what have I been saying all season? Give credit where credit is due. I've been calling this all year. I said the Clippers don't scare me. They're still pretenders. And at the end of the day, they're going to fold in the playoffs. And now the analysts are starting to see this. But everybody was on their jock when they were talking about, the Clippers look really good in the regular season. The Lakers don't, and they're injured and this and that. They're not going to repeat. Some even question if we would even make the play-in tournament. That's how ridiculous these analysts and how fair weather they can be. Short-term memory loss. They tend to just basically judge the game based on what happened last night. It's like they were born yesterday. I feel like anybody can have a job at ESPN, man, at that rate. They should have more fact-checking. They should study the history better, and they should definitely not have all these knee-jerk reaction hot takes because they just sound ignorant. Everybody was saying, "Oh, the Lakers are done. This looks like a Clipper type year. This looks like a Brooklyn Net Clipper finals." And now everybody has just 360. We win 4 or 5 games in a row. Everybody's back on the ship. There's no more room for you guys, man. The Titanic is closed. Except this time, we're not gonna crash on the iceberg, man. Looking forward to it, guys. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a fun playoff series. I will be covering games that aren't Laker related. The ones that I really want, I will be coming here for the post-game recap. This year, you guys requested it. I got a lot more time. So let's just say that the Mavericks eliminate the Clippers, man. You know I'm going to come over here to celebrate, man. Even though I'm not a Mavericks fan, but I am going to be. Let me tell you what. Matter of fact, if the Mavericks eliminate the Clippers due to Luka Doncic, I'm going to buy myself a Luka Doncic jersey, all right? Because I'm already a fan of the kid. But if he can actually become a legend and create, basically finish up the Lord's work, if he can do the Lord's work for us, that would be awesome, man. And I would definitely buy his jersey, man. I'll buy his jersey. You guys will see me rocking a Luka Doncic jersey as long as he's not playing the Lakers. So, but yeah, that's my take for this year, man. I don't think they have enough to beat the Clippers this year. Unless Kristaps is healthy and Luka wows out again. If he goes crazy and Kristaps is able to impact the game, then yes, the Clippers will have their hands full and they will fold because they're also very soft. But I do peg in, I do peg the Clippers as a second-round exit per usual to the Utah Jazz. That's my predictions for this year's playoff bracket, playoff tournament, guys. What did you guys think? Do you guys agree, disagree with me, man? How do you guys feel about my predictions? I'm gonna go over and read some comments right now. Looking forward to see you guys' take. He said, Lakers winning it all. It will be fun, though. I believe so, too, bro. I believe we will win it all this year, barring any crazy injuries or anything stupid happening along the way. But outside of that, I got the Lakers, man. I got the Lakers. We're just too deep. We're too deep. We're built for the playoffs. Other teams like the Clippers, other teams are built for the regular season. But the Lakers specifically are built for the playoffs. And I feel like in a 7, nobody's going to be able to beat us in a 7. Something crazy, something insane would have to happen for us to lose. And I just don't see it happening. I even think Coach Frank Vogel is going to tighten up his rotations to get everything right. He said, my problem is the Warriors. I mean, that's everybody's problem, man. That's everybody's problem because that's who we face next. But I think if we can limit Steph Curry to under 30 points, we have an easy win. If he goes over 30 points, we got to make sure nobody else gets over 25 and so on and so forth because they don't have enough firepower. We do. We have to pound them inside, get them tired, crash the glass, and just take advantage of our strengths. He said, I watch every DTLF video. Thanks so much, Mix in the City. I appreciate you, man. You guys are the ones that make this channel go. So I appreciate y'all, man. Much, much, much love. Wesley Matthews needs his respect. He's been amazing. I've given him his credit, man. He's been phenomenal. I liked him since he clamped up Kawhi and held him to 15 points. This is why we bring these veterans. This is why I'm not as hard on them as others are, because I feel like these veterans make a killing for us when it matters the most. He said, I don't believe that the Heat will reach the NBA Finals, Dan. Well, they're my dark horse. Dark horse means that, a lot of people don't believe it, but I see something in them. I see a burning flame, pun intended, right? They are the Heat. So I see a burning flame in Jimmy. They tasted victory last year, but they didn't quite accomplish it. That can work wonders for a team. You remember when the Lakers got to the finals and lost to the Boston Celtics, and then we came back to beat them, in the next couple of years? When you taste victory, but then you get defeat, it makes you hungrier. So I think for those reasons, I think but if they're healthy, I think Jimmy Butler will lead his Heat back to the finals. He said, Dan, definitely agree with Clips falling to the Jazz with the way Donovan Mitchell went off him and Inglis in OKC in 2017 as a rookie. Not just that, bro, but they got a lot better. The Jazz, you got to give them credit. Defensively, they got a lot better. Offensively, they got a lot better. They added another great offensive weapon in Jordan Clarkson off the bench, which they didn't have last year. And Mike Conley has another year with the team to get acclimated. I think he's been better this year than last year. It's the reason they ended up number 1 in the West. You can't sleep on them. I was sleeping on them early in the season. I thought eventually, after the All-Star break, everything would fall into place. But unfortunately, injuries didn't allow us to get back to the top. However, the Utah Jazz proved me wrong, and I'm happy to say when I'm wrong. I was wrong about Utah. I didn't think they would be a Western Conference contender. I won't say an NBA contender, but a Western Conference contender, and they are. They have the opportunity to at least get to the Western Conference Finals as long as they don't face us. Worst case for them would be if we lose versus Golden State. God forbid that happens. But if we lose versus Golden State and then we have to face them in the first round, they're going home in the first round. So that's worst case scenario for them. Best case scenario, obviously, for the fans and for ourselves as well, for our path will be a little bit easier. But I'm not scared of any path, so it's okay. But regardless, best case scenario, we win versus Golden State. We secure that 7th seed, and we face Phoenix in the first round and the winner of Denver, Portland in the second round, just warming up right in time for the Western Conference Finals. He said, Dan, you need to join Bad Dog with the play-by-play. I don't know who that is, brother, but I don't do play-by-play. I do live reactions, but I love listening to the game, especially in the playoffs, man. I want to hear Mike bring something like, LeBron for the win, bang. I get all into the games as well, and I don't have I already talk a lot pre and post game, so I don't have the energy to do both. And you guys have chose pre and post over, because I think you guys are similar to me. You want to hear the commentary over me, doing live reactions. But I will be putting up the polls for you guys to vote. If you guys want to see a live reaction game during the playoffs, just let me know. If I get enough suggestions, I'll put up the poll, and then and you guys can vote. If you guys want me to stick to pre and post for that game, or you guys want me to do live reactions instead. I can't do both. My voice gets tired, man. I do a lot of talking in general. I'm a chatterbox in real life, but even then, chatterboxes need breaks. He said, Dan Silva wants you at Echo Park. Oh, man, I'd love to play anybody. I ain't never scared. I'm a competitor, man. You can send him my way. Love Alan Silva, by the way. He does a great job. But, yeah, send him my way. What do you think of Skip, Dan? I used to like him when he was on First Take a long time ago. I thought him and Stephen A. probably made the best, sport debate show analysts ever, just because they were so entertaining. And I loved it when Skip would say something outlandish and Stephen A. would destroy him. I had a blast watching that growing up as a kid. But he kind of sucks now, and I feel like now instead of having hot takes, he just has crazy takes now. He just has some outlandish stuff, and he's always wrong. I don't like that. So I'm not a big fan of him, man, to be honest with you. That's what I think of him. What do you guys think of Skip Bayless? He's really annoying to me, especially with all the LeBron hate. It's like, bro, get over it. We get it. You don't like him. You're even going as far as to stop rooting for your own Spurs to jump on the Clipper bandwagon and on the Brooklyn Nets bandwagon. That's annoying. That's not a real fan to me. So he said Skip is a troll. Definitely. Skip Bayless. I call him Flip Bayless. He just flips from team to team. Basically, he roots for whoever is playing against LeBron. So that's not a real fan to me, man. That's a bandwagon. But it is what it is. Well, thank you guys so much for joining in today, man. Thank you for the donations as well. Appreciate you, bro. The playoffs are about to get underway. Hopefully, you guys are as excited as I am. The play-in starts tomorrow. I'm not sure exactly what the schedule is, but I'm sure like a couple teams play tomorrow. And then the Lakers play on Wednesday. And you guys can find me right here for the pregame. I'm ready to break it all down for you guys. I really didn't talk much about the matchup because I'm saving some of that for the pregame video, man. Looking forward to it, guys. Thank you so much for joining the playoff predictions. Again, I ended up with the Lakers versus the Heat in the finals again. Rematch, Lakers in 5 or 6. That's my final prediction. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate y'all, man. And I will see you guys right here Wednesday for that pregame. Lakers Warriors. Go Lakers, baby. Woo! Let's get it.